Okay, so this is just a video going through the mechanism by which you can manage Windows devices in your Google Admin Console. I've previously posted videos and things on this. Things have come along quite a lot since then, and uh, this is just going through the mechanics of how you do it, really. So the first thing we're going to do, and this is what I would urge you to do if you're interested in this, is actually just try it, spin up a test machine and see how it goes. So I'm using VirtualBox here on my PC. I'm going to fire up this demo computer here, which is just a blank VM, and this will start to install Windows 10 21H2, but this works perfectly well on Windows 11 as well. It's just easier to work on a virtual machine on Windows 10 than it is on 11. You can do it, but it's just a bit of a pain in the bum. So we're just going to get this going, and then once this is going, we can jump into the Google Admin Console and have a look at the sorts of things that you can do. Now, the first thing to be aware of is if you're going to be managing Windows 10 or 11 devices and you want to be able to apply all of the policies, not just some of the policies, you don't want to be using Pro. You want to be using Education or Enterprise. They will give you the full set of policies that you can use. Pro is a sort of a lobotomized version of Education stroke Enterprise, which has a load of the policies disabled. Same operating system, just Microsoft wants you to pay for the one that you've got more control over. So we're going to go for Education here, so we can get all the bells and whistles, accept the terms and conditions, custom install onto the virtual hard drive. So that's installing Windows 10 on a virtual machine. So if you're going to actually manage the devices, you need to have Plus or Standard licenses on your Google setup. So I'm going to demonstrate this with this account here called SW, which is in a test OU. So if I want to test a policy out, I apply it to this organizational unit, and if I've got a demo machine like the one I'm building here, I can just test that policy out, check it works before I actually put it onto any actual school. So this particular account here has a Plus license associated with it. So that's the first thing to be aware. And we're going to be applying policies to this software deployment test. And this account is going to enroll this machine shortly into Advanced Desktop Security. So this user is in the OU that I'm going to apply the policies to. Okay, and that's the first thing to get clear. If you've got other users who subsequently log into this machine who also have Plus licenses, they will pick up policies which are specific to them. But this will define the sort of base policies, as it were, that apply to this particular machine. Okay, just let that restart and it will do its stuff. In fact, we can probably make this screen a little bit bigger here and move that over there so people can see things a little bit better. So we can watch our Windows machine install while we do this. So where will you find Advanced Desktop Security? So if you go into, what do we want to do? We want to go into devices, mobile and endpoint settings, Windows settings. That's where we need to be. And you need to turn it on first of all, and you will only be able to do anything meaningful, as I say, if you've got Standard or Plus licenses. So you need to turn this on. Here you can set permitted domains that can sign in. Now, if you only just got one domain, I would do this here because it just makes things simpler. If you've got lots and lots of domains, I wouldn't do this here because this sets it to a particular domain or particular domains for the entire organization, which if you've got lots of organizations like us, I don't want to do. And then you would just download GCPW here, and that would be a custom version of GCPW which would be set to sign into your domain only. Okay, what I do is just Google GCPW and then you can just download it there, 64-bit version. Okay, because I don't want it locked to a particular domain because we've got 30 odd of them, so I don't set it at the root level there. You need to enable Windows management. Let's just move our Windows machine along here. Let's go for United Kingdom, which is where I am. Skip and leave that doing its stuff. Normally I'd have an auto attend file on here, so you wouldn't have any of that. But on a test VM like this, we're not worrying about things like that. So window management, you just got to turn it on. Account settings is useful in so much it allows you to define what accounts have local admin access, and for the most part you wouldn't have this enabled, and most people will be a standard user. What's useful about this is that you can put a Google user into a particular OU and then select them to be a local administrator, and then once they log in, log out, log back in, they get local admin rights, and then you can do something on that account and then you can disable it afterwards, all remotely, which is quite neat. So that's how you give people admin access. Windows updates, you can configure Windows updates here and how Windows updates behaves. You can point it to a local Windows update server if you want and specify. It's kind of all self-explanatory. You can enable BitLocker here, and all the various options you've got in BitLocker are in the next bit down. And then the bit that's probably the most significant is the custom settings, and the custom settings allow you to deploy policy. Anyways, Windows machine here is ready. Now, because I'm not going to use a Microsoft account, I'm going to click domain join instead. I'm not actually going to use a domain. I'm just going to make a random user here so I can log into the machine. And then I'm going to prompted for some stupid questions. But again, when you're doing this for real, you'd use an auto and attend file, so you wouldn't get any of this. But it's just for the purposes of this quick demo, we'd do that. And again, you wouldn't have any of this either. Yeah, I don't want to send anything to Microsoft. Go away. Not now. Okay, so if you're doing this in production, as I say, you'd have an auto and attend file, and it would go straight to this bit here prior to enrollment. So once you're in the custom settings, but you can just apply policies, a bit like applying group policies if you're used to local Active Directory, and it works in a very similar way. If you're interested in the full list of policies, you can just Google policy CSP, and you'll get a long list of policies, a very long list of policies, which mimic a lot of what you'll see in group policy. And there's loads of things you can set. So this is useful as a reference tool from Microsoft if you think, well, okay, I want to, I don't know something about controlling start policies, for example. And there's a load of start policies here, what type of windows they apply to, and what all the settings would be. So that's useful documentation. So our Windows 10 VM is ready to play with now. So first thing I'm going to do is just install guest additions so it looks a bit nicer and behaves a bit nicer, and I can map a remote drive as well. So let's just fire up guest additions. Just a default install. I'll do that in a second. We'll enable drag and drop. We'll enable share clipboard, and we're going to do that in a minute when we've restarted. Okay, so that's restarting and we'll be able to start playing with it in a minute. Okay, so what I'm going to do is deploy a policy, a fresh policy, and we're going to go into this OU here, and we're going to add a custom setting. And we're going to do something pretty because we like customizing our wallpaper, so we're just going to do something simple like that. So what I'm going to do is create a Google drawing, and I'm going to change the page setup to custom pixels and do it 1920 by 1080, which is most people's screen resolution nowadays, and change the background to, I don't know, let's have green, should we? Like that. And then we'll have a rectangle, and we'll put that across the middle. We'll make the fill white and the border color white. So we've just got a bar like that, and I'm going to insert image from Drive. I'm going to search something. I'll do. And then I'm just going to put some text in here. Normally I have a school logo. Let's make that a bit bigger. That'll do. Okay, so we've got basic wallpaper. And what we're going to do is download that as JPEG. Put it into somewhere. I'm a bit dense today. That'll do. Save it there. And then we're going to make a Google document. And we'll have page setup. Oops, page setup. We'll have it landscape. And then we'll insert image, upload from computer, the one that we've just had. That'll do. I'm going to publish to the web. Publish, okay. I'll copy that link. I'm going to make this. Oh yeah. I'm going to make this public. Okay. And then this is the published link. Right click on the image, copy image address, just fire up Notepad. So we've got a URL to our cloud desktop now. Close all that now. So if we go back to the admin console, and here, let's just call this test desktop. What we need to do is find the policy name, and I can't remember. Once I've done these once, I don't ever remember them. So I'm in one of our schools here, and okay, so there's this one. So that's what we want. Now, if I type desktop here, you'll see that it comes up with a list of policies, and some of them will have. That's the one we're going to use actually. It comes up with a sort of bit of information, and it will automatically detect the right type of argument to the sort of value. So this is a string. So we're just going to copy that, pop it in there. Now we could add another policy at this point. In fact, let's add another one, because we're also going to do not that one. We want the login screen one. I never remember what that one's called. Lock screen image URL. There we go. So here I'm just going to type lock. Whoops. So it comes up there, and if I click on the little thing, it tells you what it does. And same link. Next. Software deployment. Apply. So we've applied a policy there. That'll have a lock screen image and desktop image. We'll have a look at some of the other policies which are applied to this OU in a minute. But let's just go back to our machine here, which we should be able to make bigger now. We've got VirtualBox guest editions running. So we just got a bare Windows 10 machine here. So one of the things you need to do is have an imaging solution that images your PCs, and it has things like Chrome and GCPW already on it, maybe Microsoft Office, whatever you want. So you can image your computer, or when you build it like this, you've got some sort of script that will deploy the software to it, so as your sort of base install. And that's what we do on small skills. We just have a key, it's got a script that runs after it installs, and it installs the majority of the software that we require. But the way I'm going to do it here is go to shared folder settings, so I can just browse to some software. I'm going to add folder path of I'm going to go into a shared drive. What do I want? I want oh, it's that one, isn't it? And deployment folder, that'll probably do. Read only auto mount, and let's call it Z. Okay, so now we have a Z drive, and we have some software in here. So the couple of things I'm going to install are a Chrome. Yeah. So as I say, you do this with an imaging solution or something in production. I'm just doing it manually in this demonstration setup here. The other thing we're going to have to do is install GCPW itself. And we're also going to do one other thing, which defines who can log in. And we won't worry about any of the software on this particular box. So we've got Chrome, and we want GCPW. That's GCPW. And then we need to, I'm just gonna copy this one onto the desktop, just so we can edit it. And I'm going to edit this. So this one was last used for a school called Middle Barton, but I'm going to change this here to riverlearningtrust.org. Okay, there's a couple of other things here. This forces Google Drive to start on login, but I'm not going to even bother installing Google Drive here, but you would normally do that probably. So I'm going to save that registry key, and I'm going to apply it. Yep. Now this, if you just had one domain, you could do in the admin console, and you could get your own, custom version of GCPW, and you wouldn't need to do that. But as we've got, many domains, then we normally set each school's devices to be log-inable by that particular school. You could comma separate the domains in this thing here. So they could be used by multiple domains. So you could put a comma, separate your next domain, and so on. The advantage of just having one is that when people log in, they don't have to put in the domain. It's automatically populated. If you put more than one in, it's not automatically populated, and they have to type in the domain name. Okay, that's it. So what we're going to do now is sign out of this, and we're going to enroll it. So add work account, and you see, because I've put that registry key in, they should come up with, yep, at River Learning Trust, and I think it's just SW. Oh, you see what I've done there? Okay, we can easily fix that. So I've got .org, which ain't going to work. So if I edit this, oh yeah, there you go, what a nupty. There we go. And then we reapply that registry key. Yeah. And then try again. I've done this sort of thing on multiple. Oh, I just forget to. I put the wrong, mistyped the domain name and account login. And then you have to sort that. So we'll try again, and hopefully we've got the right domain then. That looks a bit better. Yay, I exist. Can't remember the password for this account. Maybe, maybe not. Oh yes, there we go. Click on I agree, and then we go through this. Now there's a policy called something that removes this, you know, nagging by Microsoft saying this will take several minutes and all that sort of stuff, and we have that deployed on our machine, so they don't see any of this, but you will see it the first time you log in, and because we didn't use an auto unattend file, you'll see this, but normally on a machine you wouldn't see this because you've provisioned it with an auto unattend file. Now you'll notice that the login screen doesn't immediately apply to applying the next time you log in. We also deploy custom start menu files, the normal sort of XML, and you can see that this is VLC that I deployed that just appeared. So this is software deployment going on. I'll show you a little bit about that software deployment in a moment. I think to this OU that might be it. I can't remember. But one of the things that you can do is go into, oh no, target tracker, that's another one. See, just software appearing, and that's how quickly software can be deployed. And it happens while the user, so if you want to deploy a new piece of software, just like in Intune, you can deploy it and it just magically appears in front of the users. None of this sort of restarting to get a group policy to apply. If you ever want to see what policies are applied, or maybe do a little bit of local troubleshooting, you can go to Accounts, Access Worker School, and you'll see it's connected to Google MDM. And we've got a policy that means you can't. You get a disconnect button, but it doesn't do anything. But if you go to info, it'll tell you. Actually, I deployed 3 things. I deployed Crumble to this as well, which is a programming thing. And it kind of gives you a bit of information about the settings that we're applying. So you see there's some Defender settings there as well. So if I log out of this, can't remember what other, you'll see that now we've got Test School at the River Learning Trust. Now we've got this stack of users here. There's a policy that you can apply to hide that stack of users, so you just get a login screen. That's a matter of personal preference if you want to do that. But if I log in now again with this user, that desktop wallpaper's now applied that policy that we just pushed to this particular VM that we just fired up. The other thing that you might notice is that this is activated because there's a policy where you can put in a key to activate Windows. Or you can build a key into your auto unattend file, depending, or you can use a local KMS server. So there's lots of ways of managing Windows activation. Um, if we just look at a few of the other policies which we deploy, I've detailed some of these in my blog, and they are all in the policy CSP documentation. So this particular one, software deploy, I'm just going to expand this so I can see 50 policies at a time, and I'll explain maybe a few of them. So this one here, allow manual MDM unenrollment. If I edit that one, for example, it's set to 0. That prevents somebody unenrolling the device once it's enrolled. Just scrolling down a few. We've got app locker policies applied. So I click on those, and then this is deployed in the normal way, just like you do with group policy with an XML file that you configure for app locker. We've also got attack surface reduction rules applied here. So these are all defender security rules, and well, this one is here. And these ones here prevent people from running things that you don't want them running, or malicious people running things that you don't want them running. Wi-Fi. So if I click on edit, this is the policy, and you change the bit in the middle here to whatever you want. Okay, so different for each Wi-Fi policy, and then you upload an XML file for that Wi-Fi policy. I'm not going to show you the XML file because that's got some sort of confidential information in. So yeah, on my blog it shows you how to deploy Wi-Fi. Software, let's pick that one. Google have a good article on how to deploy software. You use this enterprise desktop app management policy, and you deploy an MSI. You have to get a couple of numbers from your MSI, and Google provide the PowerShell for you to be able to do that, and then it generates an XML file which you pop in here. You need to have your MSI file hosted somewhere. So the way we do this is on Google Cloud Console. Is it this project? It might be. Cloud storage browser. Yeah, okay, so we've got this bucket called software deploy. I've got a huge number of things, but we've got mobility print client here, by the way, and you can get a URL from here, and you can host. It doesn't work from Drive. They don't let you use Drive for this, but I found this to be super reliable doing it on a Google Cloud bucket, and you know the cost is like pence, maybe £1 or so a month, so it's not significant. Certificates, so you can push the security certificates this way as well. Again, I've gone on how to do that on the blog. Hide fast user switching is the one that stops that stack of users. And interactive login, don't display last signed in user, is the other one. Let's just see if we can deploy those. Because I haven't got them on here. So here we go. Let's go. Let's just copy them. It's much easier. Where has it gone? One here. Click cancel. Let's have. Let's just go into one of the other schools and grab them from there. Enable first log on animation is the one that stops all the nagging when you log in. So let's grab that one first of all. Hide fast user switching. That's what we want to do. Yeah, and is it offer on? It's one. Yeah, one is enabled. And then we're going to add another. And we're going to add that one there. Now you could do this at a low level and apply it to more OUs, but sometimes we do things a bit more granularly, so yeah, it's up to you. Interactive login, don't display last use. I think that's a 1 to enable it. Okay, next. So you can apply this to multiple OUs, by the way. You don't have to just apply it to one OU. You can select what OUs you're going to deploy it to. So often I'll deploy software to 10 or 20 OUs at a time. Okay, so we just deployed those two policies to this computer here. So that's not taken hold yet. So that's been a bit optimistic there. So if you want to force a policy update, normally it updates really quickly. I go to accounts, access worker school, info, and then the last policy sync was 1122. Okay, moments ago. So if we now sign out of this, see where we're at. And then you see it's disappeared. Okay, and then you just got signed in with your work account. And that's what we normally rock with, rather than having anything down at the bottom or anything like that. That's it, really. Once you've got your head around it, it's really easy, and in terms of deploying policies, it's very fast. So if I were to deploy a new piece of software, then it would apply on that machine. Well, I mean, it's bound by the speed of the internet of the local user, but unless you're deploying something huge, it will appear like moments after you deploy it. Oh yeah, there's one other thing I just want to mention. When you do this in the admin console, we go to devices, mobile and endpoint, setting. Oh no. Devices. If you go in there, I'm not going to go in there because it'll show people's names. But if I go into company-owned devices, oh yeah, okay, I need to sign in again. It'll come up with a list of devices. And what I recommend you do is you add any devices you enroll, and we tend to do this in bulk once we've enrolled, I don't know, a load of them, and then add them as company, and there's an import template there, and you can just upload them. And you can see these devices in your admin console and see what software, look at the logs, and do all sorts of things, and see who's logged in and when they've logged in, and all of that sort of stuff. I'm not going to go into any individual devices because, you know, you start going into seeing what people have been up to. But, you know, we've got loads of the little things here. Why is it unassigned? I don't know what that one is. Anyways, hopefully that's kind of useful. I'm happy to talk people through specifics if they're interested. But I just figured this out by reading the Google Guides and looking at the Microsoft policy CSPs, and it just works, and we've not had any trouble with it really. That's it, really. Anyways, there we go.